the 1930s, farmers had been farming in the Great Plains for only about 2 decades, not long enough to fully understand the risks inherent in the area. These states received little rainfall, and the only thing that protected the land from the wind and erosion was the grass that covered it. Plowing the land left it bare and vulnerable. Still, farmers continued to plow and plant their fields, unaware that they were depleting the soil, unaware that they were leaving the earth dry and exposed. Eventually, the once rich soil became too poor to support crops. The fields, rutted and rocky, began to erode.
There was too much land put under cultivation because of the need for wheat and other agricultural products in the World War I period. And in the 1920s, this land continued under cultivation, and a series of weather factors, a drought actually, began to cause Dust Bowl conditions.
35 million acres of land that not long ago boasted golden fields of corn and grain turned to dust. And another 225 million acres were losing topsoil fast. Ranchers were no better off. The overgrazing of cattle and sheep had stripped the land of grass, leaving it loose, barren, rocky. And the one thing that was needed to correct the situation was the one thing that never came: rain.
The Great Depression coincides with a period of really bad weather. Droughts in the summer in particular, and so as a consequence, farm prices have really fallen basically across the board. It hurts cotton in the South, it hurts wheat and corn in the Midwest, but really all products are affected by this.
Drought was nothing new for farmers, but the drought of the 1930s was unusual. All of the loose dirt combined with heavy winds created a blizzard of dust.
I remember one spell out here in the spring of 1934 that my young son had gone out in the pasture to get the cattle out here. While he was there, this storm began to roll in great black waves from the north. Everything was black. You couldn't hardly see your hand before your face. It was just a solid black. You lighted the lights in the house and you couldn't hardly find your way about the house.
The wind carried the topsoil across farms, state lines, even across the country. Over 2 short days in May of 1934, the wind carried 350 million tons of soil from west to east, and with it the life work of countless farmers. The dust so darkened cities on the East Coast that they burned street lamps in the middle of the day, and it's rumored that Chicago got 4 pounds of dust for every person in the city.
The worst storm that I can remember was the last big duster that rolled in. We stopped by the side of the road and waited until we could see the edge of the road, which was I don't know how long. It seemed like a lifetime. We drove on home, and we found out when we got out we were so short on oxygen we could hardly stand up.
By 1934, the drought had charred the Great Plains, baking Kansas, Oklahoma, and the panhandle of Texas. The days of dry, windy weather stretched into weeks, the weeks into months, the months into years. Still, the drought continued. And then came the grasshoppers.
When the crickets came during the Dust Bowl, Mormon crickets, they were big, fat, ugly, black grasshoppers. I had never seen any like them in my life, and I'd lived there all my life. They would be strips of them 6 and 7 feet wide, just marching along like an army, a great long line of them as far as you could see. I don't know where they were hatching out, where they came from or anything, but they would walk right across the road. Carts would run over them, and they would just fill in the space and go right on across. They never were interrupted. They absolutely stripped every leaf off the trees. They were covering the fence posts. I don't know whether they were eating them or not, but they would absolutely take anything green that was there. So you just had this miles of gray and dust moving all the time.
For many families, the grasshoppers were the last straw. Farm families looked at their land in exasperation. Hopeless and distraught, many farmers felt forced to abandon their farms, sell their belongings, and try to make a new start elsewhere. By 1935, the Dust Bowl had forced nearly 20% of farmers to sell their farms. In all, 2.5 million people left their homes behind them and set out to find a new life. They began what was to become one of the defining experiences of the Great Depression, driving out of the dust in hopes of finding clearer horizons.